10 traits that make people feel comfortable opening up to you. There's a reason some people hear the words, "I don't know why I'm telling you this," over and over again. It's not luck. It's not just being nice. They have certain traits that make others feel emotionally safe before a deep conversation even begins. The interesting part is that most of these traits are so subtle, they're easy to overlook. Today, we're revealing 10 of them, from how you handle silence to how you protect someone's vulnerability. And the final one is the hidden reason people open up without feeling forced. 1. You don't rush to fill the silence. Most people underestimate the power of silence. The moment a conversation gets quiet, they panic. They jump in with advice. They change the subject. They make a joke. They start talking about themselves. Not because they're bad people, but because silence can feel uncomfortable. But people who make others feel safe have a different relationship with silence. They don't treat every pause like a problem. They understand that sometimes a pause means the other person is thinking. Sometimes it means they're deciding whether they can trust you. Sometimes it means they're trying to find the courage to say something they've never said out loud before. Imagine someone starts telling you about a hard time they're going through. They say, "I've just been feeling really overwhelmed lately." And then they stop. A lot of people would immediately jump in and say, "Yeah, I know exactly what you mean." Or, "You should try taking a break." Or, "Don't worry, it'll get better." But the person who makes others open up might simply wait. They might nod, keep their attention on the person, and let the silence breathe. That small pause says, "I'm not rushing you. I'm not trying to take over. You can say more when you're ready." What's happening here? You're giving the other person room to go deeper. You're showing them that they don't have to perform. They don't have to explain everything perfectly. They don't have to package their emotions in a neat, comfortable way for you. This matters because many people edit themselves in real time. They start to say something honest, then pull it back. They think, "That sounds too dramatic," or "Maybe I'm being annoying," or "They probably don't want to hear this." When you give them a calm silence, you interrupt that self-editing. You make it easier for them to keep going. It's like opening a door and then stepping back. You're not dragging them through it. You're just making sure they know it's open. This is why silence can be so powerful. When someone feels like they won't be interrupted, corrected, or hurried, their nervous system starts to relax. They feel less pressure. And when pressure goes down, honesty often comes up. 2. You react calmly when people tell you something personal. People are constantly watching your reaction. They may not say it out loud, but when they reveal something private, they're looking for clues. Did your face change? Did your tone shift? Did you suddenly become awkward? Did you judge them? Did you get too intense? A calm reaction is one of the biggest reasons people feel comfortable opening up. Not cold, not emotionless, calm. There's a difference. A cold person makes someone feel ignored. A calm person makes someone feel steady. Imagine someone tells you, "I haven't been doing well mentally lately." If your eyes widen and you say, "Oh my gosh, that's really bad," they might instantly regret telling you. If you panic, they may feel like they now have to comfort you. If you overreact, they may feel exposed. But if you respond with something like, "I'm really sorry you've been carrying that," or "That sounds heavy, I'm glad you told me," your calmness becomes grounding. What's happening here? You're showing them their truth is not too much for you. You're communicating, without saying it directly. "I can handle hearing this." You don't need to shrink it. You don't need to pretend it's lighter than it is. People often hide things because they're afraid of the reaction, not just the information itself. They worry that if they tell the truth, the other person will look at them differently. So when you stay steady, you remove one of the biggest barriers to honesty. This is especially important when someone shares something they feel ashamed about. Shame makes people expect rejection. They expect the other person to pull away, laugh, lecture them, or look disappointed. A calm, compassionate reaction challenges that expectation. It says, "You're still safe here." It's like handing someone a fragile glass object. If they grab it too quickly, squeeze it too tightly, or act scared they'll drop it, you immediately feel nervous. But if they hold it gently and confidently, you trust them with it. The same thing happens with vulnerability. When someone gives you something delicate, your reaction teaches them whether you can be trusted with more. 3. You listen without trying to fix everything. This is one of the most common mistakes people make. Someone opens up, and within 10 seconds, the other person becomes a problem-solving machine. They say, "Here's what you need to do. Have you tried this? You should talk to them. Just stop overthinking. Look on the bright side. At least it's not worse." And sometimes advice is useful. But when someone is first opening up, advice can feel like a shutdown. It can make them feel like their emotions are an inconvenience you're trying to clean up quickly. People who are easy to talk to understand this. They don't treat every feeling like a problem that needs fixing. They know that sometimes people don't need a solution yet. They need to feel understood first. Imagine your phone is glitching and you take it to someone for help. Before they even look at it, they start telling you what buttons to press. That would be frustrating. You'd think, can you at least understand what's wrong before telling me what to do? Emotions work the same way. When someone says, I feel hurt, they usually don't want you to immediately hand them a 5-step plan. They want you to understand the hurt. They want to feel like their experience matters before it gets turned into a task. A good listener might say, that makes sense, or I can see why that affected you, or do you want advice, or do you just need me to listen right now? That last question is powerful because it gives the person control. It says, I'm not assuming what you need. I'm here with you. What's happening here? You're separating support from control. You're not trying to take over their experience. You're not making their vulnerability about your wisdom. You're simply creating a space where they can hear themselves clearly. And here's what most people miss. When someone feels truly heard, they often find their own answer. They don't always need you to solve it for them. They need enough space to process it without feeling judged, interrupted, or managed. It's like letting someone unpack a suitcase before you start folding their clothes. If you start rearranging everything too soon, they feel interrupted. But if you let them unpack first, they can finally see what they're carrying. 4. You don't make their story about you. We've all seen this happen. Someone says, I've been going through a hard time, and the other person immediately says, that reminds me of when I went through something even worse. Now, relating to someone isn't always wrong. Sharing a similar experience can sometimes make a person feel less alone. But timing matters. If someone has just opened up, and you instantly shift the spotlight to yourself, they may feel like their moment was taken away. People who make others feel comfortable opening up know how to stay with the other person's story. They don't rush to prove they understand. They don't compete with pain. They don't use someone's vulnerability as a doorway into their own monologue. Imagine someone hands you a photo that means a lot to them. They want you to look at it, but instead, you pull out your phone and start showing them your photos. Even if your pictures are interesting, you've missed the point. They weren't asking for a comparison. They were inviting you into their world. The same thing happens in emotional conversations. When someone opens up, they're not always looking for a matching story. They're looking to feel seen. A person who does this well might say, that sounds really lonely, instead of, that happened to me too. They might ask, what was that like for you? Instead of launching into their own memory. They might save their personal story until later, when it actually supports the other person rather than stealing the focus. What's happening here? You're showing emotional discipline. You're resisting the urge to center yourself, even when you have something relevant to say. And that restraint makes people feel respected. This is harder than it sounds because many people share their own experiences as a way of saying, I understand. Their intention is good, but the impact can still feel lonely to the other person if it happens too quickly. They may think, I opened a door, and they walked through it into their own room. It's like being invited into someone's home. You don't walk in and immediately start rearranging the furniture. You look around. You notice what matters to them. You let their space be their space. That's what people feel when you stay present with their story. They feel like they don't have to fight for the conversation. They don't have to compete for attention. They can just be heard. 5. You remember small details. People feel safe around those who pay attention. Not in a creepy or intense way, but in a warm, steady way. When you remember something small they told you, it sends a message. Your words didn't disappear after you said them. Maybe they mentioned they had a stressful meeting on Thursday. A few days later, you ask, how did that meeting go? Maybe they said their sibling was having a hard time, and you check in. Maybe they told you they get anxious before social events, so you quietly ask if they're doing okay before one. These little moments matter more than people realize. Why? Because opening up is a risk. When someone shares a piece of their inner world, even a small piece, they're testing whether it matters to you. If you forget everything, they may assume they were just background noise. But if you remember, they feel valued. It's like dropping a pin on a map. When you bring it up later, you're showing them, I noticed where this was important to you. This doesn't mean you need to remember every detail of every conversation. That would be impossible. It just means that when someone tells you something meaningful, you hold onto it with care. The key is not to use those details to interrogate them. It's not, so, tell me exactly what happened with that thing you mentioned last week. That can feel invasive. It's softer than that. I remember you said this week might be difficult. How are you holding up? What's happening here? You're building trust through consistency. You're proving that your care isn't just present in the dramatic moments. It continues after the conversation ends. Most people are used to being listened to in the moment and forgotten afterward. So when someone remembers, it stands out. And sometimes, remembering the small thing is more powerful than making a grand gesture. A huge speech can feel impressive, but a quiet check-in can feel personal. It tells the person you weren't just reacting in the moment. You actually cared enough to carry their words with you. It's like a friend saving your seat in a crowded room. It's a small gesture, but it says, I thought about you even when you weren't asking me to. And when people feel remembered, they're more likely to reveal more. Not because you forced it, but because you showed that what they share has a safe place to land. 6. You don't weaponize vulnerability later. This one is huge. People may not open up because they've learned the hard way that some people collect private information like ammunition. They tell someone their fear, and later that fear gets thrown back at them in an argument. They admit an insecurity, and someone makes a joke about it in front of others. They share a mistake, and it gets used to make them feel small. After that happens a few times, people become careful. They don't just ask, can I trust you right now? They ask, can I trust what I tell you today not to be used against me tomorrow? The people who make others feel safe have integrity with vulnerability. They don't use someone's soft spots as leverage. They don't turn confessions into insults. They don't bring up someone's lowest moments just to win a disagreement. Imagine someone gives you a key to a room in their house. They're not giving you permission to walk in whenever you're angry. They're trusting you to respect the door. Vulnerability works the same way. If someone tells you, I always worry I'm not good enough, and later, during a conflict, you say, this is why you're so insecure, you've just taught them never to trust you with that part of themselves again. But if you can disagree with someone without using their wounds against them, you become rare. What's happening here? You're showing emotional safety under pressure. It's easy to be kind when everything is calm. The real test is what you do when you're frustrated, hurt, or defensive. People notice that. They notice whether you protect their dignity even when you're upset. They notice whether you keep private things private. They notice whether you can be angry without becoming cruel. This is why emotional safety is not just about being soft. It's about being principled. It's about having lines you don't cross, even when crossing them would help you win the argument. Because if someone learns that your kindness disappears when you're upset, they'll start guarding themselves before conflict even happens. And when they realize you won't punish them for being honest, they relax around you in a deeper way. It's like lending someone your favorite jacket. If they return it clean and folded, you'll trust them with it again. But if they throw it on the floor and step on it, you'll think twice next time. Every vulnerable moment is a borrowed jacket. Handle it well, and people will trust you with more. 7. You ask questions that feel curious, not intrusive. Questions can either open someone up or shut them down. The difference is not always the question itself. It's the energy behind it. A curious question feels like an invitation. An intrusive question feels like a spotlight. For example, if someone says they've been distant from their family, an intrusive response might be, why? What happened? Who caused it? That can feel like an interrogation. But a curious response might be, has that been hard for you? Or, do you feel like talking about it? See the difference? One demands information. The other offers space. People who are easy to talk to know how to ask questions that give the other person an exit. They don't corner people emotionally. They don't make them feel like they owe the full story just because they mentioned one detail. This is important because people often reveal things in layers. First, they test the surface. They say something small like, things have been weird at home. If you rush in with intense questions, they may pull back. But if you respond with gentleness, they may choose to go deeper. It's like approaching a shy animal. If you move too fast, it runs. If you stay calm and let it come closer on its own, trust builds. A safe question sounds like, what has that been like for you? Do you want to talk more about it? How are you feeling about it now? What do you wish people understood? These questions work because they focus on the person's experience, not just the details of the situation. You're not digging for gossip. You're trying to understand their emotional reality. What's happening here? You're letting them lead. You're showing that your curiosity has boundaries. You want to know them, but you're not entitled to know everything. There's a quiet respect in that. And people can feel it. They can tell when your question is meant to understand them, and they can tell when your question is meant to satisfy your curiosity. One feels safe, the other feels exposing, and that makes a big difference. People open up more when they feel they have control over how much they reveal. Because the truth is, trust doesn't grow from pressure. It grows from permission. 8. You validate before you challenge. Some people think being honest means immediately pointing out where someone is wrong. They hear a person's feelings and jump straight into correction. You're overthinking. That's not what they meant. You shouldn't feel that way. You're being too sensitive. You need to see it from their side. Now, sometimes people do need perspective. Sometimes they are misreading a situation. Sometimes a challenge can help. But if you challenge before you validate, the person often feels dismissed. People who are good at helping others open up understand the order. First, they acknowledge the emotion. Then, if needed, they gently introduce perspective. For example, someone says, I feel like my friend doesn't care about me anymore. A dismissive response would be, that's probably not true. You're taking it too personally. Even if that might be partly accurate, it doesn't feel supportive. A safer response would be, "That sounds really painful." Feeling forgotten by someone you care about can hurt a lot. Then later, once they feel heard, you might say, "Do you think there's another explanation? Or does this feel like a pattern? What's happening here?" You're not agreeing with every conclusion. You're validating the emotional experience. You're saying, "I understand why this matters to you." Not, "Every thought you have is automatically correct." That distinction is important. Validation is not blind agreement. It's emotional recognition. It's like someone coming inside from the rain, soaked and cold. You don't start by explaining the weather forecast. You hand them a towel. Once they're warm, then you can talk about what happened. When someone is emotionally flooded, validation is the towel. And once people feel emotionally understood, they become more open to reflection. They don't have to defend their feelings as strongly because you're not attacking them. This is why people who validate well often have more honest conversations, not less. They create enough safety for the other person to admit, "Maybe I am seeing this through my own fear," or "Maybe there's another side." People don't become more self-aware by feeling shamed. They become more self-aware when they feel safe enough to look honestly at themselves. 9. You're consistent in how you treat people. Comfort doesn't come from one good conversation. It comes from a pattern. Someone may enjoy talking to you once, but they won't truly open up unless your behavior feels consistent. If you're warm one day and cold the next, interested one moment and dismissive the next, gentle in private but mocking in public, people won't know which version of you they're going to get. And uncertainty makes people guarded. People feel safest around those whose character is predictable in a good way. They know you'll treat the waiter with respect. They know you won't gossip cruelly about someone the moment they leave. They know you won't act kind only when you want something. They know your mood won't completely change the rules of the relationship. This matters because people don't just judge how you treat them. They watch how you treat everyone. If you sit with someone and say, "You can tell me anything," but 5 minutes earlier you were exposing someone else's private business, they will remember that. If you laugh at someone else's insecurity, they'll wonder what you'd say about theirs. If you are kind only when people are useful to you, they'll assume your kindness has conditions. It's like reading reviews before trusting a restaurant. You don't only care about one perfect meal. You want to know whether the place is consistently good. People do the same with emotional trust. They look for patterns. What's happening here? Consistency lowers emotional risk. It tells people, "I don't have to guess who I'm dealing with today." This doesn't mean you have to be perfectly calm, cheerful, or available all the time. Nobody is. It means your core values don't change depending on your mood. You can be tired and still respectful. You can be busy and still honest. You can be upset and still fair. That kind of consistency is rare, and people feel it, because opening up is not just about the conversation in front of you. It's about everything someone has observed before that conversation. Your small daily behaviors are quietly building a case for whether you are safe. So if you want people to open up to you, pay attention to who you are when nothing emotional is happening. That is when trust is being built in the background. 10. You don't force depth. This might be the most overlooked trait. People who are easy to open up to don't push every conversation into something deep. They can laugh. They can talk about normal life. They can enjoy light moments without constantly searching for hidden pain. That matters because emotional safety includes freedom. The freedom to share, but also the freedom not to share. If someone feels like every conversation with you turns into an intense therapy session, they may start avoiding you. But if they know you can be present without pressure, they relax. It's like sitting beside a fireplace. The warmth is there, but it doesn't chase you around the room. You can move closer when you want to. What's happening here? You're proving that connection doesn't require exposure. People don't have to reveal their deepest wounds to earn your attention. They can just exist with you. And that's often what makes them open up later. When people don't feel forced, they choose honesty on their own. And that's the strange part. The people who make others feel safest usually aren't trying to pull anything out of them. They create enough ease that the other person moves closer on their own. But emotional comfort is only one side of the way people respond to you. Because sometimes, before someone opens up emotionally, their attraction shows up physically first, in the way they look at you, react to your presence, or behave when they're trying not to make it obvious. And most people miss those signals completely. The next video breaks down 10 signs you're sexually attractive, including the subtle signs people show before they ever admit they're drawn to you.